What happens when Denver's housing inventory doubles in just 1 year? We're finding out right now, and it's creating opportunities and challenges that we haven't seen in over a decade. Today, I'll show you what's driving this jump in listings, the neighborhoods where buyers are scoring the biggest wins, and concessions that sellers are now offering to get deals done. We'll also look at how this compares to past market cycles so that you know exactly what to expect next. I'm Landon, and I'm a local realtor here in the Denver Metro, and I help people buy and sell homes and stay informed on the local real estate market. Let's dig into the headline number. Inventory levels that now match pre-pandemic norms and are creeping towards early 2010s territory. So active listings have jumped to around 14,000 homes compared to about 6,000 this time last year. So when you've had an over double jump in inventory from last year to this year, you're gonna face some changes in the market, right? And so the pre-pandemic levels that we saw were, anywhere from 55 to 8,500 was pretty common. So now that we're about 14,000 homes, we're seeing more price drops, more deals for buyers, more concessions given from sellers, all kinds of things happening. And if you go back to the Great Recession, you saw during that time frame that we were, edging into 14, 15,000 when we were going into 2007. And then we shot up, in 2011, we got up to a height of about 24,000 listings on our market. And that was a very, very saturated market. That was a buyer's market where buyers were getting huge advantages, on most deals. And buying demand is now down 15 to 20% year over year based on showings and the number of pending sales that we're seeing. First-time home buyers have dropped from 35% of the whole market to just 18%, which is an all-time low. We've never seen this low number of first-time home buyers getting active in the market. It's not because Gen Zs don't want to buy homes, you guys. A lot of people will accuse Gen Zs of not wanting to become homeowners and saying that, if they're never going to get in a home, they'll always live with their parents. I don't believe that. When you look at surveys across the board, Gen Zs are saying that they want to be homeowners. It's really important to them to own a home. Problem is, their income doesn't support the average mortgage payment. 70% of people can't do it right now. So some economic things to consider are, 12,000 listings is a balanced market in the Denver metro area. And economists consider 12,000 listings to be that dotted line of a balanced market. But here's where it gets interesting. During the pandemic low point of 2020, we bottomed out at about 1,200 total units, 1,000 single-family homes and about 200 condos and townhomes combined across the entire 7-county area. That created the frenzied market where homes got 30-plus offers in some cases. For most of the decade before that, we hovered from 2012 to 2020, we hovered between 5,500 and 8,500 homes in the market. So think of it this way. Imagine a farmer's market with 100 cartons of eggs, but only 10 shoppers. Prices would naturally fall as sellers compete for limited buyers. Now compare that to having just 20 cartons of eggs with 50 eager shoppers. Prices would skyrocket as buyers compete. That's essentially what's happening in Denver real estate right now. We've got a lot more eggs, but fewer shoppers. The shift in supply and demand fundamentals is creating clear signs that we've entered into a different type of market. Let's look at what that means for both buyers and sellers. So we're gonna look at some signs of a buyer's market that we identify. Typically in a buyer's market, homes stay on the market for more days. So days on market has significantly increased year over year. And over 40% of active listings have had price reductions. Sellers are offering rate buydowns. We're seeing 2-1 buydowns, 1-1 temporary reductions. That's a lot of money. Typically, that's between anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 for a 1-year buydown for 1% lower, or a 2-year buydown where you get 2% lower the first year and 1% the second year. Those temporary buydowns cost anywhere from $14,000 to $16,000 on average. So that's a lot of money sellers are willing to pay buyers so that they can get the rate that they want and the payment that they want for the first couple years of the loan. And buyers are saving a ton of money on interest because of that. So townhomes and condos are experiencing more pronounced market slowdowns, especially in Douglas County, Arapahoe County, and suburban areas that are seeing a lot more seller concessions paid out because of all of the new construction that they're competing with. Sellers commonly drop 1% after 30 days roughly, another 1% after 60 days, and then sell for 2% less than that on average. So the signals of a buyer's market are flashing bright red across Denver. Homes are taking significantly longer to sell, with the median days on market climbing well above last year's figures, especially for condos and townhomes. When you drive around Denver neighborhoods, you're seeing something that was rare just a year ago: the same for sale signs sitting in yards for weeks or even months. And in some cases, you're seeing streets lined with for sale signs. Seller concessions have become also very standard practice in this buyer's market. Are seeing big time concession adjustments. We're seeing regular interest rate buy downs. And here's how that works. If a current rate is at 7% and a buyer, it would normally just take the rate at 7% for the full 30 years. But if they get a seller concession, meaning sellers are giving them money, they can buy the rate down to 6 or even 5% for the first year or two. So for a 2/1 buy down, the way that works is if the market rate is at 6.5% like it is today, then the buyer would normally pay that 6.5% throughout the full 30 years. But in this case, the seller would give a credit to the buyer enough for them to buy that rate down temporarily for the first year, 2% less than the market rate. So it'd be 4.5% for the first year, 5.5% for the second year, and then 6.5% for the next 28 years on a 30-year loan. And so that buys time for buyers in their minds for interest rates to come down. It helps them save about $15,000 in interest over the first 2 years of the loan, and it gives them the payment that they're more comfortable with moving forward based on their income levels. And really what it does is it gives buyers immediate payment relief while they hope for rates to drop before the temporary reduction expires. These can only be done on purchases, not refinances, which makes them particularly valuable in today's market. Condos and townhomes are feeling this shift most acutely. First-time buyers have dropped from being 30 to 35% of our market to just 18% of our overall market, an all-time low. Higher interest rates have disproportionately impacted the lower end of the market, reducing buyer power for entry-level purchasers in a big way. To really understand how significant this shift is, let's look at how today's market compares to historical trends in Denver. So our current inventory of 14,000 homes is higher than what economists say is a balanced market, where during 2007, 2008, inventory peaked around 28,000 units, which was a true saturated listing buyer market. Also, there was the opposite of that, right? The scarcity era, which was an absolute low inventory crisis. Inventory bottomed out to 1,200 units for sale. Around the 2011 to 2012 period was the last time we saw familiar inventory levels to today. To put today's market into perspective, we need to look at Denver's real estate cycles over the last 15 years. When I started in real estate back in 2007, just as the Great Recession was beginning, it's convenient, we had about 14,000 homes on the market, similar to where we're at today. But within a year, that number doubled to 28,000 homes, creating a deeply saturated buyer's market. Economists have consistently maintained that Denver reaches balanced around that 12,000 active listing mark. When we're north of that 12,000 listing mark, buyers have the advantage. When we're south of it, sellers hold the power. For nearly 8 years, from 2012 to 2020, Denver operated in a persistent seller's market, with inventory ranging from 5,500 to 8,500 homes during that time frame. Then the pandemic hit, and we call that the scarcity era or the low inventory crisis. Inventory plummeted to 1,200 total units, 1,000 single-family homes and 200 condos in the entire 7-county metro area. That's when we saw those stories of 30-plus offers on single-family properties and buyers waiving every contingency just to compete. The big question is whether we'll stabilize at those levels or continue climbing towards those 2008 recession numbers of 28,000 plus listings. Based on current trends, I don't expect we'll see that extreme inventory surge, but we're definitely in new territory for anyone who entered the market in the last decade. With this dramatic shift in the market, sellers face a completely different reality than just a year ago. Here's what you need to know if you're planning on selling your home in Denver right now. So if you're selling a home in today's market, here's what you should expect. Longer market times unless your home is move-in ready and priced right. Hot micro markets like Wash Park, Platt Park, and parts of Highlands Ranch, especially the west side of Highlands Ranch, are still moving quickly and performing better than other areas. Price right from day one. Many homes are selling for 4% below their original price. And this isn't always the case. right? Homes that do it right, there's still light at the end of the tunnel, right? If you've got a unique property or you've got a property that has it all, it's got a decent yard, it's got good bones, it has updates, you just have to price it right and it will sell in today's market. I don't want to give off the impression that you're just out of hope if you're a seller. I'm seeing homes sell still in the first couple weekends if they do everything right. But it's a little more unpredictable than we've seen in previous years. And so that's where I would set the expectation. With homes selling for, on average, 4% less than the first list price, be smart about that. If you price your home 4% less right out the gates, you're gonna sell very quickly. And so that may be something to consider for a pricing strategy. Also, you're not going to get a huge return on investment if you put your money in the wrong places. So consulting with a professional, making sure that you know what is selling and what are the best places to put your money. I can give you general advice, but the best thing I can do for you is walk through your home and give you specific advice to your kitchen, your bathrooms, your carpet, your paint, so that you know exactly what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Because sometimes if you've got certain eyesores, that just need to be changed out, it makes so much sense to do that because you will make money on that improvement. And other times we just stick to the fundamentals of, hey, what does the National Association of Builders say about return on investment for this item compared to other items? But it's part science and it's part art, right? The artwork is, what does a buyer actually feel when they walk through your home? And so those are the things that only a walkthrough can provide. So you see my contact info here. Please give me a call if you feel like it would be valuable for me to come by and walk through your place. More than happy to do that, to give you an accurate assessment of what your value range is in today's market and what it could be if we did a few improvements and what those should be. Also, if you're in an area that's located far from job places, right, where a lot of jobs are located, DTC, downtown, if you're very isolated from all of that, then you may just expect longer market timing. And so be prepared for 60 to 90 days on market in a lot of cases to get your place sold. So if you're selling in Denver right now, I'll be brutally honest. This is a completely different game than even a year ago. The biggest key for sellers in this high inventory market is creating what I call the wow factor. You've got to emotionally appeal to buyers through smart updates and proper preparation. The homes that are still selling quickly and at good prices are those that are move-in ready and staged to perfection. Here's the mistake I see constantly. Sellers invest in improvements that only give a 15% return while ignoring updates that could yield 300% returns. This is exactly why I do a detailed walkthrough consultation before listing any property, to identify which specific improvements will give you the biggest bang for your buck. Another piece of advice, make sure you're ready for picture day. Okay, if you've got stuff on your counters, if you've got dirty towels hanging up, if you got buckets, lying all over your home or clothes draped over your couches, different things like that, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but buyers can't see past it. They have a really hard time scheduling showings and going to look at homes that look like they didn't truly prepare the home properly. So I would really not photograph cluttered spaces. Declutter as much as you possibly can to simplify your home and make sure that it looks great online, because everything starts with photos and how many times people are looking at those photos and how long they spend on your listing online. That will highly dictate whether or not they come to see your home. Also, if you want to sell quickly, price 2 to 3% below what comparable homes are listing for. If you're a condo or townhome, it may be 5 to 6% below what homes are selling for in the last 6 months, because you're in more of a declining market. I recently had a listing that comps suggested would sell between $600,000 to $615,000. We priced it at $585,000 to generate some immediate interest and a faster sale. And we had to reduce one time still in this market because of the unpredictability of what's going on. We ended up at $579,900, ended up getting a full price offer, and we're under contract now, closing in a couple weeks. So that strategy and pricing helps. If we hadn't done that initial price adjustment, then we probably would have sat on the market for much longer. And so being willing to adjust and being flexible in this market is key. Be prepared to offer concessions, rate buy downs, inspection repairs, closing cost assistance, and price aggressively from day one. This may not be the news that you want to hear, but I'd rather be honest with you now and disappoint you now than 6 months down the road after you've made all the wrong decisions. While sellers are facing challenges, buyers are finding opportunities they haven't seen in over a decade. Let's talk about what you need to know if you're looking to buy in Denver's market right now. Buyers are successfully negotiating significant concessions, whether that be new decks, HVAC replacements, stuff that wasn't even happening a year ago. A couple of our recent sales included $20,000 to $40,000 in seller concessions. Interest rates have dramatically dropped, approximately 0.75% in the past month. So for buyers that were qualified at $700,000, this actually creates $40,000 of more buying power, just based on an interest rate that's 0.75% lower than what they were a few months ago. We're at the lowest interest rate mark that we've had since October of 2024. So it's a huge opportunity right now to get after it and go buy a home with cheaper interest rates. Also understand that areas, especially in Douglas County, Parker and Castle Rock and South Aurora, are offering really good value on resales. Centennial recently ranked #1 on places to live in Colorado, but the market is softening in that area as well. North areas like Westminster and Broomfield are offering really good deals, especially for larger lots. And previously competitive areas are now more accessible to average buyers. If you're buying in Denver right now, you're in the strongest position buyers have been in for more than a decade. Just this week, I helped clients negotiate not just minor repairs, but major improvements. A brand new deck, a replacement of a 22-year-old furnace and 27-year-old AC system. In total, we secured about $23,000 in concessions after already negotiating the price down $15,000 and getting another $5,000 initially on the contract for seller concessions. These were sellers who were motivated and sitting on the market, and we came along at just the right time. And this is the reality. Most people selling right now are doing so because they need to, not because they want to. And that gives buyers significant leverage during inspection negotiations. If you make reasonable requests with a solid rationale, there's a good chance that you'll get most or all of what you're asking for. So where should you be looking? Centennial was recently ranked as the #1 place to live in Colorado, and its market has softened considerably despite the excellent quality of life. For the best values, also explore Parker and Castle Rock, areas with typical strong demand that are temporarily oversupplied right now. South Aurora in the Cherry Creek School District is also offering excellent deals right now. If you want more land or space between homes, look north to Westminster and Broomfield. These areas are seeing slower activity and better buying opportunities, especially for properties with larger lots. The bottom line is this: if you've been waiting for more options and negotiating power, this is your moment. But don't assume that rates are just going to continue dropping. Lock in when you found a good opportunity, as market conditions can change quickly, as we've seen. We've seen a teeter-totter of rates that's happened so many times, where they dip and then they go back up. Who knows if that's going to happen again, or if rates will continue to drop. So I would say if you identify the right property, buy it now, and then you can always refinance later if rates do come down. So if you're considering buying or selling in this shifting market, timing and strategy matter more than ever. I've put together detailed market reports for each Denver metro zip code. They can help you make more informed decisions. The link to request yours is in the description below, or just reach out directly for a custom home valuation or a buyer consultation. If you want to know exactly which homes and areas are worth your money in 2025, I break it all down in my next video. What's actually worth buying in 2025? From hidden gem neighborhoods to smart new construction buys, you'll see where the real opportunities are in Denver right now. Click here to watch it next.